Welcome to the True Demon Lord show. I am the True Demon Lord, Franco, and we're going to be talking about data slate changes. So we know the data slate is coming soon. We don't have an exact date on it, though. If I had to guess, I'm going to say it's this upcoming week. So the week of the 7th, so 8th, 9th, 10th, Thursday the 10th. Normally get it on Thursdays. So I'm gonna guess and say that's probably when we're getting it. I normally hear some stuff like earlier in the week, but we are recording on the Sunday before, so we've heard nothing yet. I would assume it'll be in either this week or the following week at the latest, but who knows? But we're going to talk about some changes that I think we're definitely going to get, and then some changes I really hope we do get. So we made out like bandits last time, right? We had no negatives whatsoever. We had a bunch of point drops, and then we also got the updated shadow rules for the greater demons. So all the greater demons got their shadow bubbles, which I think was incredibly good. Like a breath of life into the faction overall. I think it was something that we really needed, and it feels a lot better now playing mono gods or very heavily focused on gods. So that's fine. I don't see any rule changes coming. Like, obviously, I don't see them taking that away. But I also don't see them adding any extra new rules or anything like that because they're just not going to. I don't think this will be a very rule heavy data slate anyway. So I think, let's get straight into it. So I think if I had to harbor a guess, I'm expecting a couple nerfs because I think we've got away with nerfs now for way too long. The obvious one is going to be the endless gift, right? I just hope when they approach this, they just don't touch ground clean ones because they don't need to. Ground clean ones do not need nerfing or touching. They are fine at 230. I think they would be doing it would be bad if they hit the ground clean ones. It would be incredibly bad. I think ground clean ones are fine where they are. Is the endless gift ground claim on a bit too cheap for his toughness? Yes, potentially. I do feel like there's more in the game now that can actually bring him down. But then you're relying on 4-ups, right? Like twice. So 4-ups do 4-up things. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. There's no middle ground on that. Even though it should just be bang average twice, right? But no, like he's fantastic. He's incredibly good for his points. He will not stay at 260. I just don't see it happening. I think we've gotten away with it now for a bit too long. So I think I could see in this gift going up by 20 points, making it 50, which is pricey. Like at that point, not that you were ever taking it on anything else, barring maybe a Demon Prince, but with the ground clean ones now, like you were never taking it on something that wasn't a ground clean one. Maybe they make it that it is 30 points unless you take it on unless you take it on a great unclean one. There we go. Good English. In which case then it's 50 points. And that would make him 280. Like he used to be 280 and you didn't see him loads. You saw him here and there. But I still think like having run him now for so long, and I think a lot more people have run him since that point because now at 260, I still think I would run him at 280. We might see him drop out a list more, but I still think you take him at 280. Unless they just want to blanket a plus 10 points onto ground clean ones. I don't think they should, but 240 for a ground clean one is still not terrible. And then 270 for the endless gift is still fantastic. But I don't think they touch ground clean ones. I think they hit the endless gift itself because that is what is probably a little bit too cheap considering. Maybe they should do a thing of like it's 30 points, but if you take on a ground clean one, it's 50 points. I don't know. That's their choice to make, but I do think that's going to happen. The other expected change I think we're definitely going to get is Blood Crushers are going to go back to where they used to be. So 120 and 240 for 6, 120 for 3, 240 for 6. I don't think they need it whatsoever. Just bear in mind, these are not changes I think we need or we should get. The Endless Gift probably should go up, but these are changes I just expect. And the reason I think Blood Crushers are going to go up is because I think Thunderbolt Cavalry are going to go up. And just from experience of playing this faction for as long as I have, whenever we have something that's similar to something that the Imperium have that is good, generally when that gets hit, we get something that get hit as well because, how dare we have something as good. That's just a little bit in the Demon player in me. I can't help it. But yeah, I don't know. This one I'm on the wall, I'm on the fence of, but I saw some rumblings about it. I really do believe Thunderbolts are going to get hit. I don't know by how much. They're already cheaper than Blood Crushers as it is. So I don't know. I just see them because they're everywhere. Because so many lists are taking 12 to 18 of them now. And you know what GW are like when a faction takes so much of a certain unit, rather than think why would that faction or why would these players take so much of this. Sometimes it's just because they're so good that you just have to take as many as you can. Sometimes it's just because they fill a role that nothing else do and we kind of need it. But yeah, I think because of that, and because we've seen them doing very well, I just think they're going to go up a little bit as well. So those are changes. I actually am really of the belief that we're going to get these couple nerfs and no buffs, even though I think we definitely need some buffs. And it's not even that we need buffs because we're not in a terrible position. Like, look, right, and maybe it's from a point of view of someone that only plays this one faction. I play it almost week in, week out. Like, I probably play this faction more than anyone else, right? And because of that, it's going to get stale. Of course it is. And it has got incredibly stale. These are the times where I kind of regret being a faction soloist, because it's like, it is boring, and I'm trying to be innovative, and there's only so much you can do with one detachment. But I do think that something that would be very good to breathe life into us, and you can already see it on the screen, is battle line changes, because I do think that is where we are now weakest. It is our battle line. We are just far too expensive while having nowhere near as much value coming out of our battle line. Now, I'm looking at, like, for me now, a good benchmark is Subductors, which are the new unit that came with the Agents of the Imperium. They're essentially a guardsman, but they have a 3-up armor save and a 4-up invuln. Their combat is meh, and their shooting is meh. Like, they are literally just quite good, and they're like 65 points for 10, I believe. I think it is, or is it 65 points for? No, I think it's 65 points for 10 guys. So yeah, and I just look at that, and then I look at our battle line, and I think, what? What? Like, seriously? So Demonettes, I've been harping on this for ages. I do generally think that aside from like characters, Demonettes are the worst unit in the book, just because of points per value. Like, they are just too expensive. So I think they could use a 20-point drop. I think they could use a 30-point drop. Like, I want them to go down to 70 points for 10, but I'm not going to get greedy, right? I'm going to say bring them down to 80, because they've got speed and they've got some combat where the Subductors don't have that. Obviously, they've got no armor save and their invuln is a 5-up, but, give and take. I think 80 points for Demonettes now makes them a lot more appealing. Like, I think now I would look at them at 80 points. 70 points would also be very appealing, but we're going to go 80 points. I think that is a big change. If anything, if you said to me, you can pick one unit and it comes down in points of value, what would it be? I think Demonettes would be my choice, or it would be the next one, which is Bloodletters, because Bloodletters are incredibly frustrating. They started this edition at 160 points. Like, what the, like, who did that? And then did they go down to 150? And it was like, or did they go to 130? And it's like, what? Now they're 120. I still think they're far too expensive. The thing that makes, for me, Bloodletters are incredibly lucky to be in the God section that they are, because they have the Bloodmaster, who is by far the outside of the lone ops. We don't include the lone ops, but as far as attachable, like, Herald level characters go, he's by far the best one. The only one that comes close to him is the Fluxmaster, right? The Bloodmaster is by far number one on that spot, and he saves Bloodletters, in my opinion. And then the other thing is Rem Masters. Rem Masters save Bloodletters immensely. So they are currently propped up by the other units and their gods by a bit. And their attachable character, or one of their attachable characters, Skulltaker, is also decent. He doesn't make their value more worth it. Like, he's a nice addition, but I don't think he makes Bloodletters valuable or more valuable. The Bloodmaster, on the other hand, does. But I want to see them come down to 100 points. I think 100 points for 10 Bloodletters, so 10 points of Bloodletter, I think is fine. They are only T4. They've only got a 5-up in one. They fall over very fast. But they have got 2 strength 5 -2, 2 damage attacks. They reroll wins of 1. They've also got probably one of the worst versions of that. Reroll something of 1 and then reroll all of that roll, in the fact that they get to reroll all win rolls against half units that are under half strength, which just feels a bit poor, considering everyone else has just easier versions of that. But Bloodletters are kind of your unit you want to be. They are literally a Bloodletter bomb. You throw them on, they hit a unit on an objective, they kill it or they kill most of it. they take the objective, they take points off your opponent, they might score you some points, and then they die. And they're too expensive for that. And I think 100 points, so 165 points for the Bloodletter Bloodmaster package, I actually then think is incredibly valuable. Like it might only seem like 20 points, but that 20 points is pretty big. So I think 100 points for 10 Bloodletters is nice. Again, I'm not going to get greedy. I would love 90 points, but I'll be asking for too much, probably. But I think 100 points for 10 Bloodletters, I think they're in a good spot. And again, I think even I look at them and go, okay, I think I'm going to start testing these guys out. Then we're going to go down to Blue Horrors, which has to be like one of the most frustrating things for me because, so as a Zinch boy, I'm in a horrible spot because Zinch is by far the worst of the gods. It's really annoying. When we got the data sheets at the beginning of 10th, so which like a year and a half ago nearly, Blue Horrors, when I looked at Blue Horrors, I thought, oh my God, these guys are amazing. And I was like ready to take like 60 of them. And then I saw their points cost, and I've run them a couple times in 10th, and that was it. We are seeing them pop up a bit more because of only because Nurglings took their OC nerf, or OC 0 can't do action nerf. And like they are a unit that actually fills a role really nicely, but they're just far too expensive. Far too expensive. They're 15 points cheaper than a unit of Pink Horrors. Like, and all you're really getting above that is like infiltrate. And of course, yes, you can get your -1 leadership and blowing up brimstones. Meh. That is not worth it to take this over the unit. It's infiltrate. That's what you're looking at. I do think that Blue Horrors need to come down. I think 30 points, like they are 125. I think 90 to 95 is fine for them. And then I think again, you're going to see at least one unit in every list because an infiltrating 10-man unit that is very similar to Subductors in the fact that, you know, they got the 4-1, they got no armor save, but they're shooting, they've essentially got an AP1 las gun, and then their combat is non-existent, but they've also got the -1 leadership aura, which is actually really nice. That pairs in with the -1 battle shock from the shadows, because it's, you know, so you knock the leadership down by 1 and you're reducing battle shock test by 1. These actually work with Scarbrand, so when a unit wants to fall back from Scarbrand, obviously the -1 battle shock from the shadow doesn't take an effect because they have to take a leadership test, not a battle shock test. But being within 6 inches of a unit of Blue Horrors, they will take the -1 leadership. So it's a good way to do a little combination there. That's quite nice. And of course, they still split. So every Blue Horror that dies on a 4+ turns into a Brimstone Horror as long as the unit doesn't get wiped. So on average, you're looking at like 15 models, which is actually not bad. And they've all got the 4 Brim ones. They've all got OC, which is really nice. Also, blowing up Brimstones is just funny. So yeah, I think 95 points definitely makes them a lot more appealing. And I'm really praying for this one because this is a unit I really want to run. Like I keep wanting to run like 50 to 60 of them. Not saying it's going to be amazing, but it'll be annoying and fun, to be honest. But yeah, just at 125, they're far too expensive. At 90 to 95, you definitely now start looking at them. I think they go into every list at least by 1 unit. So they're the 3 that I think we definitely need. And then the next 3 are ones that I still think we could use, but I don't see them happening, and I don't think it's the end of the world if we don't get them. And that's Pink Horrors coming down by 15 points, so going down to 125 points. I don't see anywhere where GW do that. Because they are good, I still think 140 is a bit steep. Maybe 130. Maybe 130 isn't like asking for too much. 125 would be nice, because if you're bringing down Blue Horrors, I feel like you're then creating such a massive gap that, like, if you bring them down by 30 points, that's a 45 point difference. At that point, now I don't think you take Pink Horrors. But if you bring Pink Horrors down a bit, like maybe just 10 points instead of the 15, I then think you keeping that gap enough that Blue Horrors are considerable or a consideration, but then also you might look at the Pink Horrors as well. Pink Horrors are fine. I actually like the Pink Horrors. I do think the 140 is a little bit pricey now going into where we are sitting at with Pariah, but I just don't see anywhere where GW do that. But we can hope. Then we've got Nurglings. They're fine at 70 and 105 for 6 and 9. I just want them to come down and be equal increments, because it should be 35, 70, 105. It's not, it's 40, 70, 105. I hate that. I think they can come down to 35 points. I don't think this is the least likely of any change, just because they will be overlooked. GW won't even look at Nurglings now, and they're fine. I still think you want 1 unit Nurglings in your list because they do something that like they give you an infiltrating unit so that you can cancel out other infiltrators. You can block in scout moves. I think they're vital for world eaters. They've also got a -1 to hit in combat aura, which is really nice. And they're a small little unit you can drop in. They're only 40 points. They're nice to screen with their unit size. And then also they can still score you behind enemy lines or engage on all fronts. So, but if we're looking at blue horrors going down, I do think Nurgling's value then goes down as well. So by bringing them down to 35 points, I don't think they're egregious whatsoever for that. And then we had to mention one greater demon. So I'm not going to mention any greater demons because I just don't think they'll touch them. I don't think they need to. The Lord of Change and Kairos, I do think are just not in great states. And that is not including the Everstave Chicken, because the Everstave Chicken is actually really good. He's fine at 280. But the standard Lord of Change is too expensive, and Kairos is too expensive. Lord of Deceit makes him cost too much. I think the normal Lord of Change could go down to like 240. I think Kairos could go down to like 250. But I don't see that happening whatsoever. But for a unit that we will actually still be taking, Shalaxi is still fantastic, but her price is quite eye-watering. I took her and I didn't even think of the 450 for such a long time. I would tell people, she's still worth it. I still think she's worth it, but I don't feel like you have to take her. But she still does a job that nothing else in the book does, and that's consistent mass amount of damage for what she does. Like, she's incredibly consistent because she's got the full rerolls. She's the only thing in the book that has the consistency of rerolls that she does. And then also she's fairly tough. Like, she's incredibly tough. And like, it's very rare where you rock her into something and it won't die if it's got a character in it, or it's a monster, or it's a vehicle. And yeah, she's just incredibly valuable, but 450 points is so expensive. It's so expensive. And I really feel like I got the proper comparison taste now, having run the Keeper recently. Like, the Keeper is actually a lot tougher than Shalaxi, believe it or not. Like, Soul Stealer and the -1 to hit are just huge. But the damage, I knew the damage was different anyway, obviously, but it is actually not even funny how massive that damage gap is. It's massive. And obviously she's still like, the thing is, again, because of the rerolls, that's what the Bloodthirster suffers with, rolling ones. Shalaxi just doesn't care, because she's like, I'll roll ones, I'll just reroll them, I don't care. She's also got immense speed on her. Obviously she can be move blocked because no fly, but that's cool. Being able to drop her out of a Keeper sequence is also pretty funny. But yeah, I think she could definitely come down 25 to 30 points. Bring her to 420. She's sitting around Angron points, Zarek, like Silent King points, etc., etc. I think she's cool there. I think 450 is just far too expensive. 420 is still incredibly pricey, but it feels a lot better. And she's in comparison with these like type of level characters at that point. I also look at her Magnus. I can't remember how many points Magnus is. I am actually going to search it up. But I look at Magnus and I think, how is this dude cheaper? Like, Magnus is insanely good. Magnus is probably one of the best value for points characters in the entire game. He's by far the best of the Primates. It's saying something, because Angron is also pretty good. Magnus is... Oh, he's 440 points. Okay, he's actually only 10 points cheaper than her. I actually thought it was a fair bit more cheaper than her. And then let's have a look at Angron. I think Angron is 420, right? Like, we're comparing Shalaxi to Primarchs, but to be honest, she is at this point, she is Primarch level. Angron's 415. Angron can come back. Angron has rerolls. Okay, like because of her shooting, like, she's a weird in between of both Angron and Magnus, right? Because she's got fairly decent shooting that can pop off, and it really can pop off. Whereas obviously Angron doesn't do shooting. Magnus shooting is incredibly superior. But her combat is better than Magnus's, even though Magnus's combat actually isn't too shabby. Hers is obviously a lot better. Is it better than Angron's? Angron has more bigger attacks, but and he gets, I guess, the rerolls against everything. As long as he has it procced, you can give him, +2 movement, advance and charge. I know you can give Shalaxi advance and charge, but he flies, he moves faster with the +2 to move. So I guess his combat is probably better. So I guess she sits in between because she's got better shooting than Angron, better combat than Magnus. So she sits in between them both, which to me means she should not be cheaper. I think Angron, not Angron. I mean, I don't know if Angron goes up or not. I wouldn't be sad to see him go up like 10, 15 points. I think Magnus goes up. If Shalaxi's 450, he's got to be 460, in my opinion. But maybe even if he just goes to 450, I think Shalaxi then, and if Angron stays at 415 and that's where you want to sit him at, then maybe you bring her to 425. I think that would be fine. I think she would then sit in that right spot because again, Magnus you take, and Magnus is phenomenal. Angron you take, and Angron is phenomenal. I guess unlike those two factions, we can still bring monsters that can do not the same job. I wouldn't even say similar because Bloodthirst and Scarbrand can definitely do work in combat, but I still think their combat pales in comparison because of lack of rerolls to Shalaxi, and then obviously her shooting. Again, she's like that happy medium between your Eversave Lord of Change and a Bloodthirster, right? She's got good shooting. Is it as good as the Lord of Change? It can be. It definitely can be when she hits her sixes on her Pavane, right? And her combat, like her rerolls, just makes her better than the Bloodthirster, in my opinion. If the Bloodthirster had the rerolls, and I think obviously the Bloodthirster then like takes a cake on that. If the Bloodthirster had rerolls to charges and hits and wounds like Shalaxi, I would never have the hatred for him that I do have. Because mine just doesn't want to. I'm saying that mine still fails charges on the rerolls, whatever. We have too much Bloodthirster hate on this channel. Let's pull it back. But yeah, no, I think Shalaxi. Let's come talk about Shalaxi now. But yeah, no, I think it has to be because I do genuinely think she is our best unit. She really is. Like her point hurts. It really does. But you look at monsters, you look at characters like Angron and Magnus, and they're linchpins for their books, for their faction. So I think Shalaxi is similar. I do think Be'lakor is probably more of a linchpin, less so now, but Shalaxi definitely is important. And I think bringing her down by 25 to 30 points, I think is needed. I think they just need to do it. But I don't think they will because they don't like doing it. But yeah, so we'll see. So there are changes that I want to see, and then changes I think we'll see. There's nothing else that needs nerfing. Like we have not got anything that feels too cheap, apart from maybe the endless gift ground cleaner. Blood Rushers don't at all. I just think that they're going to suffer from the whole. They're taking a fair bit, so GW think they need to be nerfed rather than try and fix the actual faction and the internal balance, like the really poor internal balance that we have. They'll just nerf what's being used a lot of because they're simple. But I think our biggest issue, so apart from actual like unit uses, like rules, I think again, just so many units are just not very good for what they do. I think a lot of our little characters are just not good whatsoever. I do think if points are the only changes we're getting, which they're going to be, then I think the problem is battle line. And I think, like I said, the changes that I've highlighted here, I think are fine changes. I don't think they're too expensive too big of changes, whatsoever. I think Demon is down 20, Bloodletter's down 20, Blue Horror's down 30 are fine. I genuinely think, because again, they seem like a lot, but that is how badly they've done with these units. Like Bloodletter started at 160. They were 60 points too expensive then. They're 60 points too expensive. Like they're now 20 points too expensive still. I think Demon started at like 130, didn't they? Which is insane to think. And Blue Horrors have just not gone down. So I think Demon and Bloodletters have a real good chance of going down. I hope. Blue Horrors, they just have this thing where they just don't want to touch them for some reason, but I think they need to. You took Nurglings away from us being as useful as they were. Fine. They were too useful. Maybe OC0 shouldn't be able to do objectives. That's cool. I wish the Bowl Piper had a rule like he should do where he can give them OC within range of them, but he doesn't, which is annoying. But yeah, so fingers crossed when we do have this update come, it's not just a couple negatives, because like I said, we're in an incredibly stale position at the moment, though we are decent. Like, I'm not saying anything negative whatsoever. Maybe I'm talking from the point of view of a horde demon player. I love my horde. I love my loads of little dudes. I've just not been able to run it at all, because it's just, you need your monsters. You can run loads of like other stuff like blood crashers and fiends, screamers and stuff like that, and I've been doing that. But I want my little dudes. I want my two-legged battle line dudes running around, my loads of demonettes and bloodletters and pink horrors and plague bearers. Yeah, so and then, I mean, we didn't even talk about plague bearers because they're fine. They do not need touching. I hope they don't nerf them. I don't see why they would. Yes, they're into every list, and what, like, they are not a problem whatsoever. About 11 points per plague bearer is fine. So let me know what changes you think we could be getting or you want to see, if you agree with my changes. Like I said, the expected changes, do not shoot me for them. They are not changes I want to see. They are just changes I think GW will do. The endless gift, I think, is just an obvious one. He is a bit too cheap. But also, let's remember, I mean, let's look at Catan, right? Catan do damage, or generally do damage, and yes, they're more expensive, but not by that much. What's the Nightbringer's like 290, right? Is the ground clear more tougher? Yes, but he should be. But he has no half damage like the Catan does. So, and his damage is nowhere near the same level. So maybe it doesn't need to go up. But I mean, I'm just looking at it from a logical point of view. It'll probably go up. And Blood Crushers, I don't think need to go up whatsoever. But again, I'm looking at it from the logical point of view and GW's outlook of, oh, well, these players of this faction have taken so much of this. Maybe it's way too good and we just need to nerf it, rather than actually look at the fact that they've bungled the crap the internal balance of our faction, which they have done. But the only way that gets changed is with a whole new set of rules, like a codex, which we don't even know if we're getting yet. Don't shoot me. It has to be mentioned, whether we believe it or not. It is something that we legitimately have to mention time and again. We don't know if we're getting a codex. We will see. So on that note, we are going to finish up. Thank you for tuning in. Leave a like and subscribe. Only takes a few seconds and it's massively appreciated. Helps us grow. We're still growing, which is awesome. Please leave all your feedback. I love getting your feedback. I've had a fair bit of feedback over the last few videos. It helps me improve. I've been, doing loads. Every video I do, I try and do differently, just to try and get ideas of how I want to do certain things. And your feedback is incredibly valuable. Check out Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with everything True Demon Lord, releases, tournament stuff, all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you for tuning in again, and we will catch you all in the next one.